Welcome to Otherworld. I'm your host, Jack Wagner. This episode is a continuation of an ongoing story that I've been working on for the last 6 months. If you haven't heard The Black Widow Part 1 and 2, you should go back and listen to those first. Just to recap, in The Black Widow, we heard the story of a girl who went to a clairvoyant, and that clairvoyant said that her father was being poisoned by her stepmother, and he didn't have long to live. And unfortunately, the clairvoyant was right. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go back and listen to those episodes. You're definitely going to want to. As you know from the end of the last episode, I ended up finding and meeting that mysterious clairvoyant. Actually, I found out that she doesn't even consider herself a clairvoyant, or at least doesn't call herself one. But for the sake of this episode, a clairvoyant is a person that can basically intuit things from the universe. Objects, people, places, they can just kind of know things without having a way of knowing them. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. Her name is Wendy. She's a mom and an artist that lives in the Los Angeles area. To put it all very simply, 10 years ago, something kind of happened to her, and something popped inside of Wendy. She had what she calls an awakening. Essentially, one day, this happened, and she started going into trance for 8 hours at a time, saying things that she couldn't possibly know, knowing things about people, places, just a different person all of a sudden. And from what she told me in the very beginning, it was almost like her consciousness was kind of ricocheting around the universe, and it was very hard to come back down to earth sometimes. Eventually, she got a little better at controlling this and understanding it, and began doing readings for friends and family. Now, I did not start this podcast to bring on professional psychics and mediums for interviews. Not at all. But after meeting her, I could tell this was very different. Something was clearly going on with this woman, and she's still confused and curious about what exactly it is that has happened to her. Over the last 6 months, I've been over at her house a lot, talking to her and her family for hours, more hours than I could count. I've interviewed them many times, and I've met at least 50 people, maybe even 100, who have had readings from her. I've listened to hours of recordings of these readings, and I've even secretly sent people to go get readings from her as an experiment. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I've done a lot of work on this very strange story. And this might get into some territory that's a bit weird for some of our more skeptical listeners. But I assure you, I would not have spent so much time on this if I didn't truly believe something was going on here. I've interviewed over 500 people in my career. I know how to sniff out BS, and I know how to sniff out a person who's just unhinged. This is not my first rodeo. Wendy is not seeking attention. In fact, she doesn't even do readings for the public at all. So, as tempting as it is, please do not hit me up asking me to set you up for a reading with her. It took me a long time to convince her to do an interview with me at all, and this is going to be the first time she's ever been interviewed about all this. This woman is not crazy. Her story is very strange, but I actually think one day we might have an understanding of what it is that's going on with her, and people like her who have reached out to me in the past. Obviously, this show is entertainment, but let me remind you that Otherworld is nonfiction. These are real people and real things that happen to them. My mission with this show is to document things that people are too nervous to tell, because I truly believe that one day it might lead to a breakthrough or understanding of what's going on with these many mysteries. But how could we ever find the answers if we never even hear these stories in the first place and ask the questions? So, in these next few episodes, I'm going to be doing my very best to tell the complicated story of Wendy, her family, the awakening, and try to figure out what exactly it is that's going on with Wendy and whether it might help us understand some of the other topics that come up on this show. This is episode 22. The title is The Ball of Light, and you're listening to Otherworld.
Hello?
Is this Bobby?
Yes, it is.
You still rolling?
Yeah, let us know when you're ready.
Okay, hey,
Feel free to ask some questions.
Can you tell me
Some more in the Pacific Islands, they're creepy, superstitious.
this is a story about
Just like comes out like that.
So I want to ask one more time about, I won't say her name, but you know who I'm talking about, the one whose story I told before this.
Yeah.
So you don't remember anything about that.
I remember saying something about someone's dad. And I don't usually come out and just be like, this person could, I'm usually so careful. Like I said to you, I'm so careful about it. But you kind of reminded me of it. That would have been like one of those readings where I just would like walk out of the room and I would just leave. I just wouldn't think anything about it. I don't ruminate. I don't go over things that come through, and I don't ask why they come through. I just let it go.
And you've seen that person since then. I mean, I know that.
Oh, I honestly don't know still if I know them. Is it who I think it is? Oh, I didn't know that. That's so crazy. That's crazy that is that person.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know them.
Do you remember when I came in here and I met you for the first time?
Yeah, you came for a session, and I did a reading for you and saw that you do podcasts about supernatural situations. And I thought it was funny because you don't look like the kind of person to be interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did the reading for me and you talked all about this podcast. And then afterwards I came up to you in the kitchen and I said, hey, remember the show you were just talking about? And you said no.
Yeah. Sometimes, it's hard to remember everything, but I remember pieces, aspects of it.
You go into a trance?
I go into a trance state. It's kind of like using a different part of your brain, I guess, or putting yourself into kind of almost like a very relaxed sleep state, maybe theta, I think they call it. I think that I've always been intuitive since I was little, and my mom would even say I was psychic. I would know things. My girlfriends would ask me about situations, like about guys, and I would just know, and then those things would happen. So, but I didn't know how I knew. It's like, I had that intuitive thing. I think we all do. We all have intuition. This is actually who we really are. We just have been socialized to believe it's weird or it's not real, but it's actually who we are. We live in a telepathic universe, and there's a lot of things that we can tap into that we're just not aware of. What happened that really got me here was I had a kundalini awakening, and I didn't really know what that was 9 years ago, and that shifted my whole world. My life completely changed.
So I didn't know what a kundalini awakening was. I didn't even know of the word kundalini before I started working on this story, and I imagine that's true for a lot of people listening right now. To put it as simply as I possibly can, a kundalini awakening is this idea sort of related to yoga, certain yoga practices, and it involves dormant energy being stored in the lower back, the root chakra. And a kundalini awakening is when something causes this energy to kind of break free suddenly, like a dam bursting, and all of a sudden it's flowing through all 7 chakras up to the head. And according to these ideas, this would result in a higher spiritual consciousness. So I don't know if this is what happened to Wendy. I'm here very curious, trying to figure out what's going on with her. I think every single culture has their own explanation for things that could very well be the same thing, but these are the terms she's going to use in this interview. Root chakra is her lower back, crown is the head, and third eye is your forehead. So when she's referring to those terms, just know that's what she's referring to.
I'm Vince, Wendy's helper and husband. We met in 1994 at the House of Blues. So I'm sitting at a table with my friend, and we're watching the band, and I turn around, and there's this beautiful girl sitting at the back of the table. I'm going like, wow, do you always sneak up on people like that? And she goes, what did you say? I don't even know.
I said no, and you said, how long have you been there anyway? And I said 10 minutes, and you said, well, you're late.
That's right. Well, you're late. That's right. Well, Wendy was always psychic. We always knew that Wendy was psychic. I mean, pretty much since she was a kid, everybody kind of knew that she could kind of see things and pick up things. But it wasn't anything like this. It wasn't as specific. It was just kind of a random thing. And even when we were first together, when I'd lose something, I was like, Wendy, you got to come help me find this thing. And she would go, oh, it's not in this room. Okay, let's go in this other room. Oh, it's in here. Let's go look in here. And then she cleared a car full of kids, telling them their birthday. And she's always been able to tell, you know, she knew everyone's sign, and she always remembered everyone's sign. I go, like, how do you remember that? And she goes, well, I just remember it. You know, I always said, oh, my wife is very psychic, but I didn't mean this very. This was very less very than what the very is now. And I like the aspect of talking about what she was before, because she was still the same being. She just became more aware of other people, and because she was an artist and she was doing a lot of stuff, you know, that was mostly kind of herself. So she was in a lot of isolation. And then she had this awakening, which a kundalini awakening was a day that was amazing. And she started talking in the kundalini awakening and said, well, we met before we came here, and we decided on all this stuff that's supposed to happen, and all of us were together, and we talked about it, and we got it all straight. And then she was saying some other stuff that I was going like, wow, what is that? Like all of a sudden, she's just sitting next to me channeling, you know. And it was pretty interesting, because she was going like, everyone needs to wake up. They all need to wake up. Wake up. And you know, when she's in trance, when she's in a deep trance, she'll emphasize things by hitting or wiggling her legs or crazy stuff that you know, just because it's so incredible how fast she can move her legs, and actually doesn't get tired of moving her legs, because it's pretty crazy.
So he's talking about when the very first night, which was, for me, it was connected to trauma and my heart being broke open. And I didn't talk to you about it. It's very personal, but that's basically what it was. It would be like having your heart shattered into a million pieces. And that night when that happened, which was, I think it's almost 10 years now. It's going to be 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. You said to me, who are you? Like I was channeling another.
Right. I was trying to figure out who.
I said, I'm me. I'm just more of me.
Right.
And so it's like when you tap into your higher consciousness, you have access to more information, because we live in this information system. So he asked me, and I told him it's
me.
It's just more of me.
It's just more of me.
Yeah.
And then she said, you'll be my helper, but you're going to screw things up a lot, but it's really funny.
Oh, yeah, that was funny. And it was true, you did.
So the deep trance channeling that Vince is talking about, that's a term that they use to describe this thing that goes on with Wendy. And it was happening a lot in the very beginning, and I believe still happens a bit now. But basically, to give you a visual, she would be usually in bed or on a couch, and for sometimes 8 hours at a time, her mind would be completely off somewhere else, and she would be thrashing around, blurting things out, and apparently kicking her legs very, very fast and screaming things that she couldn't possibly know. And this would go, like I said, for a very, very long time, and then eventually she would kind of come back down to earth and not remember any of it. Vince was recording a lot of these back in the day. For now, I cannot use those recordings on this podcast, but I have heard some of them, and they're very, very interesting. Perhaps one day we'll be able to do something with these, but the deep trance channeling aspect of all of this is one of the most mysterious and intriguing parts of it to me. I thought it would be worth clarifying in case anybody was confused by what it is exactly that was happening with her or what they were talking about.
Well, the first thing was I had felt for 2 days like electric, almost like my energy body that I'm not normally in touch with, vibrating around me. And then I felt this energy increase, and it felt like electric stars on fire, like waves of energy moving up my spine and to up on my crown. And I call it electric stars on fire because I don't really know what else to call it. And that's what it felt like, waves and waves of energy. Also, I don't know if I shared this with you, But the night that I had, when I started deep trance channeling, so for me, I call it deep trance channeling. I don't know if any of these terms are accurate. These are just the way I describe it from my experience. I started deep trance channeling, which for me felt like my consciousness dropped out and my higher self, Wendy energy, fully was activated. And it's almost like we have a firewall up that we can't see. I felt like there was a giant magnet pulling me out of my third eye. So that was a really weird sensation. It was almost like I was having a really hard time staying in my physical body. I felt almost like I was leaving my physical form and I was being pulled out my third eye, like with a giant magnet. And I would just start channeling and talking about all these things. And I was talking about very like big global concepts. And I would kind of slam back into my body. And I think I told you that part, because then I said to Vince, what am I talking about? And he said, you're talking about quantum physics. I told you that part. We just didn't know what was happening. We just knew that I suddenly was like this electric storm and I'm channeling information. And believe me, I love feeling grounded. After going through that experience, I wanted to feel like I'm on the physical earth. I love being on the physical earth. I don't want to be way out here because it's too intense. It's a hard thing to describe, but that first night was very scary.
So we were presented with the new Wendy. The new Wendy had arrived. And so we're trying to figure out, like, okay, well, that was interesting. So what's going to happen next? So the first night, which was a deep trance state, she was in deep trance probably for maybe 8 or 10 hours. And and energetically, she didn't know how to cope with, because it's a lot of energy and it's a lot of just information and a lot of stuff for somebody to withstand that hasn't had that experience before. I mean, now she's very refined and she can go into any of the levels pretty easily. But at that time, we were just pretty much just experimenting. When we started doing the deep trance, my grandmother had passed a few years before, and she started channeling my grandmother and talking just like her, using the same syntax and words. And I'm going like, oh, it's Grandma, check it out. My grandmother was a very strong woman and had a very particular way of approaching how to talk to people and all that. And it was definitely my grandmother. And I sent it to some of my family, but there was some things that I'm sure that my family doesn't want to be propagating into the world too. But she knew all about it. She knew everything, and she was just ripping through my grandmother's experience. We were supposed to give a message to her favorite in the family, let's say, and we didn't do it because I didn't know how to broach giving that particular message to him. And she came back again. And she goes, you guys are idiots. It was something, you guys are dumb or something.
It was early on. I started reading, and Vincent's grandma came through. And that was actually, I think, the first person that I channeled. And I saw that she wanted us to communicate something to Vincent's uncle. And so we didn't communicate it right away. And then she came back and she said that, and she was very upset with this person, by the way, with certain behaviors. And she had said that she saw he moved the carpet in the hall. And then we communicated that to him. And he said, no, I didn't move it. The maids moved it. And
taken the downstairs hall. She said, I watch him from the downstairs hall.
Yeah.
And they move the carpet around.
And then
then when the doors hit you in the head, that's me hitting him in the head.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
So it's not really like that exciting of a story, but it was interesting that she was the first person that I think I channeled. So
it was a changeover. It was definitely a changeover from our previous life. Now she didn't just decide, oh, well, now I can read for people. It was a kind of an organic process. When we went places at that time, because she would have to wear a hat because the energy from the people around her, both good and bad, she would pick up on. We went to buy a vacuum cleaner, and I think we went to like Walmart or something to get a cheap vacuum cleaner. And she's going like, I can't stay in this store. We got to get out of here. Like there's too much energy in her. We had a giant tray of Epsom salt next to the bed that she would stand in. And she also would put it on the bed. And sometimes she would go outside and hug a tree or stand in the dirt because that would help bring her energy down and ground her a bit.
This is Wendy's daughter, Harmony. She's in her 20s, also lives in Los Angeles. She's a musician, and some of you may know her as one half of the band Girlpool. So we have your daughter here sitting over there.
Hello.
How old were you when that happened?
I think I had just turned 18. I was it? No, it was before. I was 17.
Yeah, you were 17.
It was a few weeks before my birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say you were pretty different before. Would you say you were different in a significant way?
I was always tapped in.
You were always tapped in, but I feel like you approached the world differently.
Yes.
And it was really, when it all was happening, I remember when you first started, I was freaked out. I was staying at my aunt's house and I was going to college in Marina Del Rey. I was going to LMU. And I just remember being kind of nervous about it. I had a nervousness. Do you remember this? Mm-hmm. Me being nervous?
Yeah. It was a very weird time.
We
didn't know what was going on.
We were confused. I just remember hearing from you, because I was staying at my aunt's and I was kind of avoiding coming to the house because I was like, there's a lot going on over there. And I just remember receiving a text that was like, Mom is outside. She's super ungrounded. She's naked, in the dirt. Or something. It was just Kathy just came over to help her ground, but she's rolling in the dirt in the nude. Or something. It was so extreme. And I was just I don't know what to make of any of this.
That's funny.
Do you remember that? It was something like that. I don't remember if it was
I don't know if it was that dramatic, but it was.
You were naked and you were in dirt.
Thanks,
but I don't know if you were rolling in dirt or if you were just stomping.
I didn't know what it was. I had gone to yoga at the Golden Bridge a few times in my life, so I knew that there was this word kundalini, but I didn't really have any reference point for it. It wasn't pleasant. It was horrible. And I felt like I was shattered into a million pieces and saying things I didn't quite understand. And he said, thank God he's so grounded. He said, you're fine. You're talking about quantum physics. Well, I don't know quantum physics. So.
You don't even know how funny that is, too.
Why?
Because, growing up, it was, math, science is, not my mom's vibe.
Yeah.
At all.
I don't remember. I know I was talking a lot about how everything is energy, and I was talking about how everyone needs to wake up, and there was a lot of things, and I was predicting things about people in my family.
I remember it very well, honestly, because it was a very pivotal time in my life in a lot of ways. My band started a month after this happened, and I had just started college, so I was and I had just started driving, so it was it felt like this huge shift occurred, and in a huge way, it was my mother obviously shifting, and it was interesting because it was observing how it evolved. Initially, I remember people were coming over for deep trance sessions, just kind of experimentally more oh, Wendy had an awakening, and people are coming over. I remember people from my middle school came over, and it wasn't it wasn't her work at the time, so it was kind of just anyone would come by and she would lay in her bed and you would be wrapped in a blanket and she would kick her feet, which she does in deep trance, and just read for people. And then it was kind of that was amazing, but it wasn't really clear how the gift would be used continuously, or
Yeah, Harmony at the time, I could touch Harmony's hands and I would know things she would come out of her room and I would tell her things and know things, and I didn't have to go into deep trance.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just it's because of my connection with Harmony. But then I ended up finding out because I'd read for my friend Marilyn and in deep trance, and her mom and her sister came through, which that's it's called mediumship, but I don't even call myself anything. I just say I'm a ball of light, and I tap in to energy because everything is energy, whether it's in physical or non-physical.
Yeah, it's so funny. I remember like it was like you can't go in trance unless you had someone grounding there.
Yeah.
Because like I remember I would try to ground you, but I was more like activating.
You were very
at
activating.
the time.
Yeah.
And so it was like Vince isn't here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were concerned at first.
Yeah, I think
Was there a time period you thought she was going crazy?
I was like, this is an interesting response to pain. I think I was concerned, but interested, but intrigued, but nervous. Like there was a lot of emotion because like me and my mom are very close, and I always want her to be feeling her best, and it seemed like she was experiencing a lot of emotions at the same time that I didn't know how to support or process as a 17-year-old, you know? Mm-hmm. And I was like trying to figure out how to be, I mean, I think ultimately I was supportive. I wasn't like, you crazy bitch or anything like.
Great harmony. Thank God you didn't go there. Actually, they were both very reassuring because that wasn't my normal life. My normal life was I'm an artist, a writer, a mom, a wife, a sister, a daughter, a normal human, normal.
It was a process. I don't really remember a moment where I was like, damn, this is all happening. Like, I'm not really a strong lines type of person, but I remember being like leaning into more and more trust and faith with it. Like, I'm kind of my mom's sounding board for most things. So during the process, it was like I was getting a lot of information from her about like how grounded she is or ungrounded, or like how she's out in the world, and electric things in her car are going out, and I'm just like, what is going, you know, it's just like all these different things. So it's like there was, I think for me, like a tug of war where I'm like, this is clearly good and healing in some ways, but also like sometimes she's really ungrounded and I'm like worried and like want to be protective of my mom, and then but ultimately like this is clearly what's meant to be happening on some level. I mean, on the level.
Yeah, how do you feel about it now?
I know, now it's like...
No, how do you feel about it?
It's I mean, it's been a long time also. Like, it started I mean, so much life has occurred since then, and it's been... I mean, I think it honestly really changed her life in a positive way. Like, I mean, I don't want to overstep, but my mom, like, literally was so dedicated to her work my entire life as an artist, and, like, didn't really see a lot of people, like had friends, but like I feel like her community and her like love for the world and for humans has grown so much through wouldn't you say?
Of course.
Yeah, like I feel like it's been so amazing to see like my mom's community of people and love grow, because she is such a loving person and she has so much to share, and like, yeah, it's been crazy, you know?
At that point, when that happened, I was just trying to find out like what is going on, just like how you are questioning like what's going on. Why do I know these things? What's happening? I think a lot of people, when they go through this kind of transformation or awakening, they need people to reassure them they're fine. And if they are fine, I mean, I'm not saying every situation there's not some other things going on with people, but this was so early on, sweetie. This was like, 9 years ago. My life is so different now. Like, this is me reliving the past and going back to a time that was difficult to get through, very difficult to get through.
How do you perceive this information?
What do you mean?
Like, when you are reading somebody, how is this is it visual? Is it knowing? Or is it...
It's, okay, so when I'm in kind of like, I feel like in my lower chakras, which if people don't know, so lower chakras, like the root at your tailbone. Let's just say, to simplify, at some point it'll feel like maybe I'm connecting with certain people. Maybe this is, and I'm just going to say it because I always say, I'm not attached to right or wrong. This is what it feels like, because I give myself permission to not be right. Because, when we're like, I have to be right, it just doesn't work out for us. We feel pressure and stress. It's not good. So at some place, I'm like, this is what it feels like. But then it goes into the heart chakra, and it's like there's just empathy, and I get the information and I'm downloading. It's almost like a download. And then as the information moves up it's pure knowing. When it's in the crown, it's pure knowing. So instead of being a normal 1 watt light bulb, you're now 1,000 watt light bulb or something.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe it. I don't see things. I don't hear things. I basically download. You know, when you wake up from a dream and you remember it when you first wake up, the dream, it's like, it seems so, and it felt so real, and it's like you could remember. And then as the day goes on, it fades. That's exactly, and I think it does have to do with where the brain waves are, because I think, aren't we in like theta when we wake up? And so I think if I was to have somebody put little nodules or whatever on my brain or read my brain waves, I probably am like in a theta state. So that's why I don't remember a lot of the information. But that's a good description of it, is that it's like you're dreaming, kind of. And I wanted to say the other thing is, Jack, I know there are ghosts and things like that. I don't see ghosts. And so when I'm channeling people that are in non-physical, what I tell everybody is that I'm like a switchboard operator from the 40s, how those women used to sit at a switchboard and I just plug into consciousness. I don't want any information that's ever going to cause me harm or my family harm. I only want information that is safe for me to have, but I can tap into different people's fields, and I do it that way, like it's, like I said, like plugging into a switchboard. And then I can receive information, and I tap into that vibration, you see? So when his grandma came through, it's not like, just so you have the visual, it's not like all of a sudden his grandmother's in the room. I don't see ghosts. I don't have that experience. I don't really see things.
You know, there were some times that I was always thinking about protecting my wife. So I didn't really want her to get damaged or hurt in any way by all this, energy. So we were always kind of cautious to not, let things get too far.
And it's why we weren't really eager to talk to anybody about this.
Right.
Because it's just like a very vulnerable position to be in. Like why it took me so long, Jack, to even say yes, I would do it. Because we've been very private kind of about this.
Yes.
Would you say, Vince?
Yes. Wendy is not a person that, if there's a microphone up, she won't be the first person to grab it.
Unless it's from Jack.
And then she's just, give me that thing.
No, but it's true. It hasn't been, and you can see why now, I think. And it's just also very personal. And then the work is personal, because when you're reading for people, sometimes it's happy stuff, but a lot of times the readings are intense and people are crying and there's transformation. And it's not just like fun and games. Like people have said, oh, Wendy, can you come and read for people at this party? I'm like, everyone will be crying. Like, that doesn't sound like fun to me. This is like, the reality of it is like, it's deep emotional work a lot of times. Sometimes it can be very surface, but a lot of times there's information that comes through that is very intense, and people are going through things, and it's like a therapy session in a sense, and they're feeling a lot. It's not just like, oh, this is fun. I'm predicting. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'm seeing past pain or traumas or things that occurred that has held their energy up and that needs to be released so that they can move into like being on their heart path and feel excited and happy about their life again. It's always so different. It's always, of course, it's fun if you're like predicting, like you're getting married and going to Hawaii.
Have 4 kids and you're gonna.
Yeah, those things are great, but not everybody's life is like that.
That's right. And
it's been
I think another part of her growth into what she's doing now was that she would read for most of Harmony's friends, like just to try to help them. And some of those kids went through transformations that would, I would say, save their lives, literally. Like there were kids that were just like you could see, this is a bad egg. This one may fall from the tree and crack, And I can think of 6 or 7 kids that I don't think would be in existence right now without her help. Yeah, there was a young lady that was missing, and someone called Wendy in desperation to try to find her. And Wendy goes, okay, let me see what I can do. And she goes, well, There's a place downtown. There's a you know how they have those big power towers where they keep a whole avenue of power towers. Yeah. And then there's like a house in between there. That's where she is. It's a drug house. There are like not good people there, but that's where she is. And that's
So I described it, and I described how she was going to go up. I can still see it in my third eye. I described how she was going to find her, and there was a window and the way the stairs were, and I was describing all this to her. She went with the police to that area. They found her, and she was in the drug house that I had said. That was a good one. I've done a lot of things with like helping find people. That would be an interesting avenue to go into, but I think it might be a little dark for me. There was a person that came to me, and I saw that she had been molested when she was around 7 by a stepfather. It's almost like you get an image in your third eye. So it's kind of like if I told you, oh, imagine a white bunny with a pink bow, you could, in your mind's eye, imagine. So sometimes I get a little flash of a visual, but not always. But I saw her hiding under a table, and I knew what it was. And I spoke of it, and she was crying, and it had occurred. When I'm going through that and talking about it, it's almost like we're going through it together. So it's very, very healing for people because they're not holding that energy themselves anymore. It's almost like it releases something that they've been carrying, especially if there's shame attached to something. Sometimes, people, they don't want someone to see all of these things. But I believe that if they come to me and their energy is open, and they want this kind of healed, that on some level they're showing it to me, because it's not just me doing the work. It's like the person is also doing the work with me. What a lot of people say is how healing it is for them to be seen. One person said to me, I've been in therapy for 10 years and my therapist hasn't seen me like you did in 1 hour. And I think that kind of sums up what it is. Somebody called me, maybe it was 2 months ago, and they said their friend was missing. And it took me 32 minutes to figure out where he was. I saw that it was going to be a place where he used to go as a child when his memories were happy with his family before his parents were divorced, and that he was going to go there. And I saw the whole thing. I saw his mental health. I saw that he was on a lot of medication and was really under a lot of stress. It was really sad. This person, I saw that he committed suicide. Someone else a psychic had told them that he was still alive the day before. And I was, like, I don't want to go against what anyone else is saying, but I pieced it together, and they found him the next day.
I imagine it must be a lot of emotions throughout the day. I mean, I was going to make note of it, but you've kind of teared up multiple times in this interview talking about some things that, and I understood why you're tearing up, but other times it just seemed kind of random.
I cry with people because
you're kind of doing it right now, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's because whenever I feel something intensely, I get emotional, because the emotion is what helps take you there. Yesterday, this was interesting because this woman, she lost her husband, and it was very intense, and he was coming through very strong. I was saying things that were relevant to their relationship. I'm not going to go into, because they'll try to keep it less personal. But there were a lot of things like where they went on a trip 36 times, certain things he would do for her that were specific to their relationship, certain things he wore. But then I said to her, it feels like there's a child next to him. And she said, no, we didn't have a child. And I said, he's like a teenager. And she didn't know what I was talking about. And all these other things were just like, I was hitting it. It was right on, right on, right on. And then I'm saying this to her, and she's like, no, we didn't have a kid. I don't know what that is. And finally, I just kind of blurted out, and I was like, he said it's Steven. And then she went, oh my God, Steven's his best friend. He looked like a kid. He was short. And he died before my husband. And so she wasn't thinking about Steven. I wasn't thinking about Steven. But her husband, who passed, told me it was Steven. So I wasn't reading her mind. Do you understand my point? Because sometimes I've been like, am I reading someone's mind? Or some people have said, are you reading my hopes? Because that's what I've always wanted. Or you're just affirming everything I want. But sometimes the information that comes in, they don't know it. And then I've read for someone and said, you're meeting this person and you're getting married around Easter. And they said the exact name, and they got married to this person the day before Easter, 2 years later. So, I don't know, Jack. I don't know. I think that emotion is having access to your emotions is what takes you into your intuition, into your gut, into your feeling, into your heart, all of it. If you don't allow yourself to feel, you would never be able to do this work. This is feeling work.
Is it a lot to carry?
I feel like I leave everything behind. At the end of the session, I close it off so that the information is kind of left, and what belongs to that person belongs to them, and what belongs to me belongs to me. So I don't carry it with me. And in fact, to the point where, like I told you, sometimes it's hard to remember everything. I did 5 sessions yesterday. I can only remember aspects of 2 of them. I can't even tell you the other 3 people I read for. I don't remember.
Yeah, that was crazy when I tried to talk to you for the first time after our session, because it was like you were a different person.
Yeah.
You talk more smoothly when you're doing the readings, honestly, and then it's a little more nervous voice, and even in your mannerisms.
Yeah, because I have to think about it. Because I'm using my left brain, I guess. I have to think about it. When I'm in trance state, it's more like it's just flowing through me. It's like the information is just coming, and I'm just speaking of the information that's coming through me. Yeah.
When you looked at me, I immediately knew this was going to be an awkward conversation, because it was almost as if I was talking to somebody else.
Right, that you just didn't...
Like you looked at me with eyes like you didn't really know me anymore.
No, I knew you. I just didn't...
it was different.
Yeah, it was different.
Yeah, and okay, one last thing, and you don't have to do it, but because I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but do you want to try to see if you could get anything off me before to end it? Not like a full reading, but just like...
You want to see what comes through?
Let's see what it comes through.
Let's just see what comes through.
You're on.
Because
you're on mic.
I could hold the mic.
You could
if you
use
want.
or not use the information.
What do I need to do?
Well, this is I've never done something like this. This is weird with here. Let me put
want
this
you? Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay. You have very warm energy right now. Do you ever take baths?
Yeah.
You love a bath.
That's actually true.
You love a good bath. Isn't that funny? I feel like I'm in the bathtub. You feel like you're going to have a child soon. When are you getting married? Next year?
Yes.
Feels like next year. You're traveling a lot, sweetie.
Yes.
You're doing a lot of stuff. Were you doing anything with music for a while? I don't know what this is, but there's something with music that's on the side. It's almost like a side project. It's interesting. You're working really hard. The shows are kind of exhausting in a way. You've got a lot of stuff to edit. And you're really helping people. You really want to help people. You're coming from a good place with it. Do you ever go to the Midwest for work or for interview? Because you've got something there that's going on.
Yes.
And I feel like you're going to be doing something.
I was there last week.
Okay. Yeah. You could go back.
Shooting video.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah. It's really good. You've got a lot of great stuff happening right now.
Actually, now I didn't even think about it, but I was shooting music.
Oh, that's what I'm seeing.
On the side.
I got you. Okay, that's what I was seeing. Where's your father? What's his first name? Okay, do you see him for the holiday coming up?
I probably won't be, actually.
You might see him. You may. Around the Christmas holiday. Did you talk to him about it?
Not yet.
I feel like your dad needs to see you for some reason. And I could be wrong, but there's something with your father. See, this is the kind of stuff you don't really want to record.
Yeah. Jack here. She was right. That was some stuff that is the type of thing you don't want recorded. So I cut out a lot of it. It got really personal really fast. At first, the stuff she was saying was kind of whatever, but then pretty quickly it took a turn into describing some very specific personal stuff that a person couldn't know even if they researched. And it was interesting. It was stuff that I'm not willing to put on the podcast. So sorry to do that to you.
I hope that's helpful. Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty. Love you.
All right. Well,
You're so good.
that was wild. Remember it.
Yeah.
I'm picking up the mic again. Like, I think having just been read by you, I just want to make this note because it's hard to describe. And my opinion of like psychics and things like that, my whole life has always been like, oh, well, why don't they like go to Vegas and like play craps or whatever, or, roulette.
My mom took me to Vegas and I put everything on the number 32 and this guy was at the table and he goes, when someone comes up with that much confidence, I'm going to listen. And so he moved all his number, whatever they are.
Chips, yeah.
Chips to 32 and we all won the money. It was hilarious.
No, yeah. Well, didn't even expect that, but I was going to just say that like having you just read me, and I don't even know if like you did say some stuff near the end that like I'll probably cut out just because it's too personal, but I mean, you were there, you saw.
Yeah.
I was a little speechless at the end.
Yeah.
It's not like you're saying, it's not like where it's like information that's like completely left field. It's left field that you're telling me it, It's like you're telling me stuff that I kind of know deep down already,
Yeah.
but having a stranger basically say it back to me, it's like I already knew. You're telling me something I already knew in a way, but it's impactful being told to you,
Well, it's like an echo of yourself.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
An echo of yourself that's really useful.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And that's never happened to me. Like, I've been read by like a party psychic or whatever before. It doesn't really do anything to me.
That's because there's so many people who aren't really doing the work. It's like somebody that I am close to said to me, oh, this psychic woman reached out to me and they got a reading from this person. And this person was like, you have to give me money to take a spell off of you. And it's just, that's all nonsense. I just feel like if it's not from the light, that's how you need to trust your own intuition about people, And if it's not from the light, then it's not something you should listen to. And you should be very, very discerning. Everyone should be discerning about going to see somebody. I mean, that's why I feel like it's a huge responsibility. And I'm so careful, like I said, about telling people certain things because I don't want to influence someone's consciousness. If I've seen that somebody wants to if I've seen that they could possibly get divorced or go through a breakup, I understand on a soul level they're supposed to be experiencing whatever they need to go through. It's not my place to be like, you need to break up with it. I would never do that. I would never enforce like my seeing. I always try to be very, very careful about it. But there's messages for people, and it is like your higher self and my higher self are having a conversation, and what information you need that you, for some reason, can't fully access or don't want to look at, or maybe you're ignoring because you're busy, your higher self is saying, look at this. This information is important. And so I'm just kind of like a delivery system for that information.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Also, I feel, so it's interesting. I almost feel like the presence of you having been in there.
That's funny.
It's like a tingling. It's a good feeling,
That's the tingling is the kundalini. It's an activation. That's what it is. Uh-huh.
Do you have any understandings of what we would call the supernatural, or theories of your own based on your experiences?
I am never going to share those with you.
What?
Never.
Why?
Because they would be too far out for you. It would break your reality.
Well, now you have to try to
No.
break it.
No.
Harmony, what do you think of that?
You're talking about like, what do I think of ghosts and what do I think of like, I think that the world is way more complicated and weird than we've been programmed to believe it is.
I think so too.
And I think that's why it's really hard to talk about these things. Like everything to me, what I do is the most normal thing. It's not any more bizarre than me doing the dishes or writing a letter to somebody or it's the most normal thing that I can tap into energy because everything is energy. So it's kind of like what has to change is people's perception of the world they live in. And you can't do that all at once because it would break their reality. Like we have been conditioned to believe things are a certain way.
I don't want you to hold back, you know?
No, I just think that I think that most people, like they go to work, they live their life, they have a very normal life. And I don't think that they spend a lot of time thinking about these subjects because they're not in a position where they kind of have the luxury to think about it. A lot of people are taking care of their kids, their family, their relationships. But I think that ultimately the world is very different than we've been taught. I would just say that. It's not scary or bad. It's just I think it's way, way more magical.
All right, that brings us to the end of this episode. You know, the more I work on this show, the more I think that what she said at the end is right. Our world is much more mysterious than we're led to believe. And it's hard not to think that when you have an email inbox full of stories from other people, and a lot of them are eerily similar to the strangest parts of the ones you're working on. I don't want to spoil anything, but I think as the show goes further, some of the weird things you're hearing right now won't seem that weird. This is probably one of the strangest things I've ever worked on. Even just being in the orbit of Wendy is a wild experience that's very hard to describe. Bizarre things happen, and I have stories for days about unbelievable things that have happened to me just being in her presence. I'll be back next week with more. I'll be talking to Wendy about her insights into the paranormal, and things take a turn for me when I begin reading some interesting documents from the 80s, and eventually I end up speaking to somebody from Harvard University in hopes of finding some answers. This has been episode 22, The Ball of Light, and you've been listening to Otherworld. Otherworld is hosted and executive produced by myself, Jack Wagner. The theme song is by Cobra Man. The soundtrack of this episode is by Juice Jackal and Treyer De La Torre. Editing and engineering by Theo Schaefer. The artwork for our show is by Cul-de-sac Studios. Special thank you to Wendy, Vince, and Harmony for allowing me into their home to tell this story. Also, thank you to everybody that helped me out along the way and eventually helped me find Wendy in the first place. This is an independent show, so please show us your support by subscribing, leaving a 5-star review, and please tell your friends. It really helps. If you want to follow us on social media, we're at OtherworldPod on Instagram and Twitter. Also, if you or somebody you know has experienced something paranormal, supernatural, or unexplained, you could send us that story at stories@otherworldpod.com.